Hello, Merry Christmas, everyone. How's everyone doing? Hello, hello. We're doing a little Christmas class today for those of you who need something to do today. Because I am also one of those people today. I think I'm gonna do night skies, like forest night skies, because they're really fun to paint. And I think I'm gonna do 4 of them on here so that we can play with some different variables. So I'm just gonna take this pad of paper here I have, and I'm just kind of prepping. We got a few minutes till we actually get started. And I think I'm gonna be using tube paints today because it's a fun day and I wanna play with tube paints. So tube paints, for those of you who don't know, are just the watercolor paints in their tube form. Where's everybody joining from today? Are you doing anything fun for Christmas? All right. So I'm gonna need my paints. I think one I'll do like a pretty like pink and purple and blue one. One we'll try to maybe do some Northern Lights kind of a thing. And then I don't know what we'll do on the other ones. I also kind of want to play with seeing if I can do a night sky using this. You waiting for your sister to fly in? Oh, that's fun. Stomach bug, oh no. Playing Genshin Impact, nice, nice. Where is my one color I want? I'm trying to look for one of my blues. Here we go. So I'm gonna grab some of my paints here. Merry Christmas. Yeah, if anybody wants to paint along today, you can use whatever colors you want. This is a super adaptable thing to paint. I'm gonna be using probably 2 brushes today. I'm gonna be using, do you guys want me to use a size 12 round brush or should we do a quill brush today? I'll let you guys choose. And then I will be using, I think I'm going to use an angle brush in order to do, I'm going to add some trees to some of these. I got to find my angle brush. Oh, the water cups, yeah, they're fun. The shows are pretty cool. Yeah, we're going to do watercolor today. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on live. I will be starting to come back on more often. I've been in the process of writing a watercolor book. All right, I found myself an angle brush. Oh, thank you. Merry Christmas, Susan. So yeah, I've been in the process of writing a watercolor book, and I have, I can't say I've officially finished it because there are still some things I have to do for it, but I have finished the bulk of it, which I am so excited about. We still have quite a bit of waiting to do, which, sorry, I'm digging through. I'm trying to find this green gold color that I have. Yeah, the book is, I don't think it's supposed to be out until like next fall, but waiting is not my strong suit, but here we are. Okay, so does anybody need more time to grab their stuff, or are we ready to get going on painting some of these? We're gonna be painting kind of the same thing, just in slightly different formats over and over again, so if you're like, need to see it done first to kind of figure out what you're gonna do, you can totally do that, but go ahead and grab that. All right, so we're gonna get started. Hi, Monica. I think I'm gonna start with one of my favorite ones, which is like to do a little bit of Payne's Gray. Let's do Payne's Gray, I'm gonna do Prussian Blue, and then I'm gonna do some Quinacridone Magenta. And this is just gonna be real free flowing together. So if anybody has never worked with tube paints before, because a lot of times when I come on, most of the time we use dried pan paints, and so there's a specific way to kind of get started with these. And in case you're like kind of curious about tube paints, we're gonna do this here. So what you do is you open up whatever paints you want to use, and then you just squeeze out a little bit. You don't need a ton. We can always put more on there, but I'm gonna start with that. It's a tiny amount. It's quite a bit smaller than my like pinky fingernail. So I'm gonna start by putting out this Quinacridone Magenta. I'm gonna do some Prussian Blue, about equal amounts, and then I'm gonna put a little Payne's Gray too. So we're gonna be painting a night sky. And then here's a little Payne's Gray. So I'm gonna mix up a nice kind of watery substance of each of these so that we can place it onto the paper easily. So I'm gonna put some water in each of these. So like with pan paints, usually we spritz the pans to let them kind of activate, but we don't have to do that with tube paints. You just kind of get your brush a little bit wet, a little damp, and then you just tap it on to the color that you squeezed out, and then we can just mix it right into these wells. All right, so the other kind of key thing when you're mixing up a bunch of colors is to have a little extra strip of paper. And we always want to test, because look how light that is there. It looks darker here. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of each of these. I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? We're having a little bit of a sad-ish holiday because everybody is sick except for Nick and I in our family this year. So we're kind of on our own, and so I thought it would be kind of fun because I know there are actually quite a few people who end up being on their own on holidays, so we might as well spend it together. We did manage to, it's cold, but we managed to take some stuff over to my grandparents and sit in their backyard, at least to cheer them up. We made them a cappuccino and took their presents over, so. But then we're just gonna hang out and we're gonna watch our dog open presents. She has a few presents to open up, some bully sticks and stuff. We're gonna be painting, okay, so this is the color I want. We're gonna be painting a night sky. We're gonna be doing it a bunch of different times, so if the first one you're like still setting up and stuff, that's totally fine because we're gonna do it a few different ways. All right, now the next one I'm gonna mix up is gonna be this blue. I love this Prussian blue. By the way, some of these are the colors that I ended up using in my book because one of the things that was really important to me when I was writing the book was trying to pick colors that even if you couldn't get the same brands as me, you'd be able to get the same like color names so that they'd be kind of close. So I worked with a pretty limited set of tubes for most of the paintings in the book in order to make it kind of more accessible to people, especially people who are international and can't get the exact same art supplies as us. I'm gonna go a little bit darker for this one. There we go. Of course, I'm happy to. I'm sorry that everybody's families are sick. It stinks, I know. All right, let's get some Payne's Gray too. You could probably do this without, if you prefer your night skies just to be kind of bluish, without any gray or black in them. You don't have to add it, but I feel like doing it. So let's see. I'm just gonna keep adding this in. You wanna mix up enough to where you're gonna be able to easily dunk your paintbrush into this solution multiple times to be able to kind of cover some areas, because these night skies work the best when you are, there we go, that's the color I want. Maybe a little darker. And actually, you know what? I'm gonna make the blue a little darker too, because otherwise we're gonna be working layers and layers and layers. So I'm just gonna go that down first because I'm gonna kind of reserve the space for it too. Oh, my video is frozen? Oh, well now it's not frozen now that I said it. Okay, well good thing we didn't actually get started. Yes, I do plan on uploading this. Okay, good. I'm glad we're back. And good thing is we didn't actually start anything. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't realize it was showing on my screen here. I just opened it on my iPad a second ago. We're back. Okay. We got one question coming, maybe? Let's see. Oh no, it's frozen again. Okay, I've got it up on my iPad so that I can see. I do have Hemi gouache, yes. And I do like it. I think it's fun to paint with. You're doing a paint by numbers? Oh, that's fun. Okay, is it actually back to working? All right, I'm gonna hope that it's back. It looks like it's back again on my iPad. So you wanna start with, for this night sky, we wanna start with a couple different colors that are gonna play nicely together. So I have a Payne's Gray, I have a blue, and I have a pink. And when all those colors are gonna mix together, they're gonna make grays, they're gonna make purples and pinks and things like that. Then you wanna start with your lightest color, and I'm just gonna place this down kind of wherever I want to on this. I'm just gonna put it in a couple spots, making sure it's nice and wet. Then I'm going to go ahead and dip into another one of my colors. We want this to be real free flowing, and we don't want to over control what's going to happen here. It's totally fine for everything to just kind of flow together. I wanted a couple spots where that pink's going to really show through. But we can work real wet on this. It does not need to, we don't have to have a huge rhyme or reason for the decisions we're making on this, because we're just kind of going for some different colors. All right, I've dropped in a little of that Payne's Gray, and I'm going to do that in a couple areas. And then I'm going to dry my brush off, and I'm going to make sure I pick up any of this excess that has kind of run down to the bottom. Watercolor lightens as it dries, so there's a chance that once this dries, I'm going to leave it like this. See, we've got, we've got some variation where we've got a little bit of the blue, some where it's combining, a little bit of the pink kind of peeking through. Oh, you've got mold. Okay, so I've had a few other people who have had mold talk to me about that, and I don't have a great suggestion for it. Mine somehow has not. I think the best thing to do is to try to prevent the mold. So like when I spritz mine, I make sure I use distilled water. Some people, when they spritz it, they put a little rubbing alcohol in there. Once it has the mold though, this is a newer thing that I was not super aware of. And I don't know, does anybody else have any tips on getting rid of the mold? I mean, I would suggest trying to scrape it off if it's not too much, and then spraying it with some like hydrogen peroxide or rubbing alcohol. But I don't know, once it's like totally infected, if you can ever really get rid of it. All right, so we did one. The next one I'm gonna do with the blue, the gray, but I'm gonna mix up a little bit of this green gold because I'm gonna kind of go for like a Northern Lights adjacent color scheme. I'm sorry I can't be more helpful about the Hemi thing. That's really frustrating. It's one of those things where it's like, I wish I had better tips, but I am pretty fortunate that like I live in Colorado and it's pretty dry. And for the most part, we don't have a lot of mold issues here. So it's something that I'm like not very knowledgeable on. Vinegar. I mean, that's the thing is like, I don't know how it's going to interact with the paint like everybody's saying in the comments, but at the same time, like once it's got the mold, I guess your paints could potentially be ruined. So it might be like a, what's the worst that could happen? They're already ruined kind of situation. Like maybe it would fix it, maybe it would ruin the paints, but if the paints are already covered in mold. All right, here's this color. So we're gonna be doing night sky type things. So I've got a really bright green, and this one's is supposed to kind of be like the Northern Lights. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by washing my brush and filling it with clean water. And then we're going to just place that. I'm going to place it kind of up on the top part here. See how I've wet part of the page. Then I'm going to dry my brush and I'm going to grab some of this green color, and I want to make sure that when I place this down, I'm going to kind of put it in a squiggle up next to this. I want there to be a bead of water that's going to kind of sit here, because what I want to do next is I want to grab a little bit of that blue, and then I'm going to put a little bit of the black in there too, and then I'm going to pull this down like that. It's going to kind of pull down with it. And I'm just going to bring this down, and then we're going to plop a little bit of this up here too to let it kind of seep. So this is why we a lot of times work with our page at an angle, is because we can kind of control the direction that things are flowing. So see, I was able to kind of prevent it from running down a little bit. It's actually been a while since I've done one of these, so I am kind of going through this process with you guys a bit too. I've cleaned my brush, and now I'm going to kind of swipe just to kind of smooth out that top part here. And there we go. We've got kind of like we're going to let this just kind of all bleed together. And once we add in little trees, it'll kind of really look like those northern lights. Oh, is it? It's out of focus right now. We're having all sorts of video problems today. I'm gonna also, while this is still a little wet, I'm gonna drop a little bit of that Payne's Gray towards the top. Just a little bit. All right, I think it's focused now again. I'm sorry for all the issues. It has been a while since I've been live, so it kind of feels like it's all brand new. So the colors I'm using today, this is actually one of the hottest tips Andrea gave me, was this Green Gold by Daniel Smith. It is such a beautiful color. I love it, love it, love it. So that's that one that we're using today. I gotta drink a little water. All right, so for our third one, so what we're actually gonna end up doing is I'm probably gonna come back and actually add in second layers to these, because notice that this one's gotten a lot lighter. It's lost some of the vibrancy. And so we might end up doing each one of these in layers a few times once everything is dry. But I've got a third and a fourth panel. Does anybody have any requests for color schemes on these next two? Yeah, I'm not drinking the paint water, just normal water. Oh, these are my nails. They kind of, I suppose, remind me of the Northern Lights. My little secret is that I've started actually using press-ons, and I found some tips on TikTok that help me so that they stay on for like 2 weeks, which is way longer than any of the other ways that I've been wearing nails. And then they have all sorts of fun designs, and I don't have to do anything. So we will be adding a forest to most of these. So we want to do, let's do a sunset. Yeah, let's do a sunset. Sunset could be super fun with like pinks and oranges, because a lot of people have kind of suggested that. Somebody says winter sunset, which I like that a lot, but I'm trying to think of like what a winter sunset. There's usually like light blues and then like orange and red and these really vibrant things. At least here, that's where they are. So I gotta grab a couple other colors to work with. Okay. I've got a lemon yellow. That might be, I want a more golden yellow though. So let's try to find something a little more golden. But this sounds really funny when I dig my hand. I just have a drawer that I have all this stuff in. Oh, let's try some of this Nickel Azo yellow. That one's pretty. You super glued the dollars for nails? Nice. Yeah, I get most of mine, I think it's this company called Glamnetics. They have some really cool patterns. But I'm always open to suggestions. Okay, now I need an orange. Let's go with a vermilion. That could be really pretty, and that'll go with that quinacridone magenta really well. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna wipe that one out because I need to mix up some more color. I should share the press on. Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to. I guess I felt like there were a lot of nail girlies on here that they really know what they're doing. So I followed their advice. But I don't remember, it's been a while, so I don't actually remember any of the creators' names. We can get creative on one of the panels and try to do that. All right, so I'm gonna squeeze out some of these other colors. I've got this vermilion. I actually do have a hair tutorial in drafts, and I have just been too chicken to post it. Okay, ooh, I did not close this one up, and we're gonna have to pick another one. Because I can get to some of this paint, but it is it is on its way to being very dried out. Hold on, maybe I can grab a tack or something to see if I can get some of that out. So this I hopefully will record. The last one that we did together was actually my fault. I'm sorry about that. Apparently I have 30 days after, as long as it records and there's no like problems. Every once in a while we do have problems with the recording. Wow, that is stringy. Well, I guess we're doing an experiment to see how much of this paint I can actually get with this yellow. But I was just like, I was overwhelmed by the book stuff and things. So I forgot and kept thinking like, you know what, I should download it. And then once I finally went to download it, it had expired. So I am sorry about that. But this one, I now know that I have 30 days. So I will not miss it this time. Well, hello, happy holidays. All right, I'm trying to get, oops, I just splattered some of that paint. My yellow I'm trying to use is really kind of dried out because I did not close the lid very well. Whoops. So I guess this is now a lesson in make sure you close your lids onto your tube paints well, or you end up with stringy paint. But I got quite a bit of color, so we're gonna go with it. Yeah, Monica does help, and now that she knows that there's a 30-minute or 30-day, I know she won't let me forget. All right, and then this is a vermilion. Vermilion's usually kind of a red leaning orange. It's probably my favorite orange color to use. Okay, so this next one we're just gonna go for really vibrant sunset. So I'm not even gonna put any blue. I think I'm gonna go for pink, yellow, and orange. All right. Again, I'm gonna start by holding this up. And I think I'm gonna start with the pink. There we go. Making sure that's stuck down. I used a pretty light adhesive tape. And you know what? I think I want a little extra access to some bright or more concentrated colors. So I'm gonna squeeze out a little bit extra of that magenta just to make sure that if I want it, I've got it. Thank you, yeah, they're a fun pattern. I did not paint them, so I cannot really take credit other than choosing them from the website. All right, so I'm filling up my brush with pink. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna go at kind of an angle. I'm gonna make it a little bit of a jagged angle. And then I'm gonna dip straight into that orange. No point in washing my brush because I want them all to flow together. Let's get a little bit of that orange going. I'm gonna go back into the pink to get more of a red, and then straight into that yellow. At this point, I am going to wash my brush because I want a harsher transition straight to that yellow. I want it to be really bright. I want kind of the sun to be like right over here. And then we're going to bring that down. I sprayed a bunch of colors on here, so I'm kind of reactivating some of the other colors that dropped on here. And let's see if I can get a little bit of that yellow to kind of peek through. We're doing, this is now wet on wet. Anything I do on here, it will kind of flow together in an interesting way. So I'm gonna grab some more concentrated pink by dipping my brush in there and then just kind of squiggling it around. And then let's just kind of drop it in up here. It's still wet enough for me to work. Sometimes you just gotta know when like it's not wet enough to keep going. I'm still kind of in the safety zone for that. I'm gonna kind of smooth them together, and there we go. So I've got a little bit of some color that's splashed onto here, down here, but it's okay because I'm gonna put trees in the foreground of each of these so we can kind of hide them. All right, sunset in Pismo Beach. Ooh, that sounds pretty. Oh, you just got a box? Oh, wonderful. I hope you have so much fun playing with them. You just signed up for a watercolor class? Cool. Is it one that's in person? Or is it an online class? Okay, so our last one we were gonna do a winter sunset, right? So we're gonna start with some blue, and then we're gonna move into, I'm gonna do pink and then some of that bright yellow, which is how I am planning to do that. How neat. Well, I hope you guys have so much fun at the watercolor class. Yupo paper. I tried it and I did not love it. I could not figure out anything to really do for it. I've heard that it's great. So I'm starting with blue, by the way, and then I'm just gonna kind of move through those colors like I did on the previous one. But first, I think I'm gonna wash my brush and make it a little bit lighter. I've heard that Yupo paper is great if you like to work with alcohol inks, and I don't really work with alcohol inks, so I found it to be not really something that was useful to me. So some of that yellow some of that yellow is, it got splattered when I was trying to, so I'm getting little yellow dots. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm gonna go for some really bright pinks here. And then I'm gonna wash my brush, wash it down, and then we're gonna go into that bright yellow color. I'm hoping this is gonna end up looking kind of like a winter sunset. I don't entirely know. And bring that all the way down. Maybe a little, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna add in a little bit of that orange to kind of transition, just a little bit, while it's still wet enough. Just in a couple areas. There we go. That one will be really pretty once it all kind of blends together. I shouldn't have touched up there. Whoops. I mean, you could use whatever you want. It's just gonna, it works a little bit different, yeah, than watercolor does. I paint with acrylic paint sometimes too. Actually, that's what I started with. I really do like working with acrylic paint. I just don't do it very often anymore. Okay, so here's where we're at with these currently. This one, I want to do a second layer on. It's just kind of lost a lot of the vibrance. This one, I am torn on. It has lost some of the vibrance, so I do think I want to do another layer on it. But I want to be really careful because I really like this area on it, so I'm going to have to be really kind of intentional about where I place the colors down. This one, I can kind of just go for it. And then these two, I don't know yet because they're not dry, but if you want to layer on top of another layer, it is really important that you take a moment to let things actually dry, or in our case, what we usually do is I make them dry. This is a craft heat gun that I like to use for this. You can also use a hair dryer. Just make sure whenever you turn these on, one, you don't want to keep it in one area too long because you can burn the paper. Or if you're using a hairdryer especially, it outputs a lot of air, and so you want to make sure there's not a bunch of stuff around you that's going to go flying everywhere. So what we're going to do is I'm going to be turning this on. I will have this on for about 20 or 30 seconds, but I always give everybody a warning because sometimes people have sensory things going on, or maybe you've got a baby sleeping and this might be a quick blast of noise that might wake them up. So now is a good time to turn down the volume for about 30 seconds, and I'm going to count you down now in 3, 2, and 1. Yeah, you guys are more than welcome. I will, I try to always remember to do that. I think I usually remember to do that because, yeah, I know sometimes when there's like a real burst of noise, it can be kind of disruptive. So, all right, so we're just gonna go, I'm gonna go for whatever I want here. Yes, this is Imgram Cobalt Teal, which is a beautiful color. I was gonna use it, but then I didn't put it out, so I guess I'm not gonna use it. For this one, I am going to start with lots of this pink color, and I'm actually going to start by mixing in a little bit more. We're going to go into that blue, going to go into that Payne's gray. I'm just trying to layer on a bunch of colors, and having the 2 different layers will be kind of interesting too, because different things are going to show through, because I'll put it in different areas. So I'm going to put this here, let's put a little here, and then let's go into this blue and just let everything really kind of run together. I'm gonna go into that Payne's gray. I'm just trying to get more color, more saturation. Just to make it a little more interesting, because as it dried, it just kind of, watercolor does lose a lot of its vibrancy as it dries. And that's kind of the name of the game. So sometimes you have to kind of counteract that with multiple layers. This will get a little bit lighter as it dries. All right, let me know in the comments, what do we want to do with this one? I'm so torn. So we are going to be putting trees kind of down here. And this is the part that I really don't like, is kind of down here. So I could just cover that up. Should I leave it because we like it, or do we want to risk adding in another layer to see if we can make it a little more kind of more contrast between above and below? We've got leave it and risk it. We could do mountains too. All right, okay, we're gonna leave it, but if you guys want, how about this? Do you want to do, I want to do trees, I think, on the other ones, but do you want to do something different? Do you want to do mountains, or do we want to do trees on this one, or mountains on a different one? All right, we're just gonna stick to trees on everything today, because that'll kind of be a good way for us to compare like how different things kind of look with a similar foreground. Sometimes it's fun to play with the variables, but keep one variable constant. All right, so then let's go over here. I kind of think I want to leave this one as it is, but this one I could go either way. What about this one? Do we want to add another layer to this one, or do we want to leave this one as it is? Because we could go a little more vibrant on some of those colors. Another layer on the bottom left. All right, we're gonna do it because yeah, this will kind of show us. This one we weren't very selective on where I placed. My whole goal was to make it darker and just a little bit more interesting with the colors. But this one, what I want to happen on this one is I want there to be more contrast between how vibrant this area is and then leave this area kind of how it is so that we get a little more like depth or something going on this one is my goal. Now, whether I achieve that or not, we will see, but that is my goal. So we're going to be a little more intentional about where we put here. All right, so what we're gonna do is I'm using, oops, I just put my finger in a big glob of watercolor. So we're gonna start, my plan is to put lots of water kind of as I go down, but I'm gonna start with way more concentrated colors here. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little bit more in here. We're going to start with this color. We might add a little bit more. Name of the game is upping the contrast. So I do need a little more of that pink in there. Let's go a little bit lighter for a second. I put a little water in my brush as a matter of fact. And then we're going to go back into that real vibrant color. I probably should have put more on there. And then I'm going to wash my brush. And we're just going to try to keep it that yellow color right kind of down there. So the goal is to create more contrast here. While it's still wet, let's try to get a little more of that pink so we can really drop that in kind of up here. I want to get my brush wet and then really put a bunch of that in there. And then I'm going to put it up here. Just dropping it in while it's still wet. And then you know what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to wash my brush and then I'm going to encourage some blooms to happen. I don't know how much they're going to happen because it's still on the second layer. But I'm going to drop in some water because I want some interesting textures to develop. Right here. I'm just trying to get some texture. I'm playing because this one I liked, but I wasn't entirely sold on. Ooh, yeah, look at that, how vibrant that is there. It almost sounded like somebody was at our door, which seems strange because it's Christmas, so most people are home. I hope there's not like a delivery driver out. Salt could be cool. I think we're beyond that on these, but salt could be cool, especially for something like the night sky one here. And I do think we will be adding in some stars and things like that to at least this one here. Okay. So again, I'm going to dry these and then we're going to work on adding in our trees, and that will be a whole separate thing. So again, I'm going to be using my dryer. So if anybody has any sensitivities to noise or need to avoid loud noises, now is a good time to turn your volume down for about 20 to 30 seconds. And I'm going to count you down from 3, 2, and 1. are some great ideas for the different foregrounds, and I do suggest that if you're in your paintings and you're like, I don't want to do trees, I want to do whatever, go with your gut. I think I'm going to do trees just so you guys can kind of see how it's done and then how different backgrounds can affect it. But I love that there are a ton of ideas going on. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to switch over to using an angle brush, and I want to mix up a really dark color. I'm tempted to add another layer to this, but we need this to not be so dark that when I add this next layer on, that we can actually still see it. And you can actually do this, you can do this with paint, or you could also, if you don't have like a really, really, really dark color of paint, you could grab a Sharpie or a felt tip pen or anything like that, and you can just use that on top of the dried watercolor to draw the trees in, which can be a really kind of nice contrast. All right, I've got my little tester strip here to make sure I know how dark the color is, because I want this to be really dark. And remember that things dry. This is not a very good, I wonder if I have a better one. I had to steal this from my acrylic supplies, and I have a better one somewhere. Bear with me for just a second, because this one's gonna make my life a lot harder. I wonder if it's in the bathroom where I wash the brushes. I'll be right back. This one might be a little better. Oh, can you lift out the moon? Yes, you might be able to, depending on how, I'm trying to think. I don't remember how staining this Payne's Gray is. Let's see. This one's pretty staining, so maybe it's not. Maybe I spoke too soon. Yeah, you might be able to lift out the moon. That could be pretty cool. Should we try it? Should we try to lift out the moon on this one? We can always add in gel pen details on this in order to kind of try to disguise it if it doesn't work out. What do you guys think? Should we try to lift out the moon before we work on the things, or should we leave it as it is and then just add it with a gel pen? Okay, we're gonna try it. So I do not know how well this is gonna work, and I'm gonna go with this one. You can lift watercolor while it's still wet. You can also lift it while it's dry to differing degrees depending on the paper you're using, as well as how staining the colors are. We're gonna try it. I think I'm gonna put the moon here. So I'm gonna fill up my brush with some water, but it's not so much that there's just gonna be a huge blob of water. And I'm gonna spin it. I'm gonna make a circular moon. And I'm gonna let that kind of sit like that. Then I'm gonna grab a paper towel, and I'm just gonna kind of rotate and then wipe my brush off as I go. Put a little more in and let it sit for a second. We could also try, that does look kind of cool. I need it to be a little more. I'm gonna put a little more water right in that little circle that I made. And let's just let it sit for a second. It's just shiny in the reflection. There you can see how it's lifted a little bit, but not a ton. But this could be kind of a nice little glow. And then I'm gonna take this and let's just see if I can lift any like that. I was able to lift some of that color, like a little stamp. I'm trying not to damage the paper. If we scrub too much, we can damage the paper. I'm gonna let that sit a little bit more. I kind of liked how it made, I wonder if I just let this water kind of sit on this, if it will kind of push it away, and we'll just let it see what happens. This is about as much as I think I can lift from this without damaging the paper. I gotta make it a little bigger because I messed up the outline. It looks really shiny, but that's just the reflection. Here you can see about what I've been able to get. All right, cool. We'll let that kind of do its thing, and then we can come in and adapt it. So we're gonna be adding in trees. We want a really dark gray or black color, so like about as dark as you can make this. So even, I'm gonna try to go a little bit more than that because again, this is gonna lighten when it dries. A little bit more, we're getting close. And then before I do this on here, I'm gonna demonstrate here for you. So the way that I like to do my trees is I usually do kind of try to like give myself a guideline of about how tall I want the tree to be. And then at the very top, I'll just take just the tip of this. You could use a flat brush for this. I like angle brushes because I feel like they can do more. I'm just gonna tap a couple times at the top. So see how we just have these, whoop. We'll see if we can get it to focus. Oh, every time I think I'm focusing it, there's little tiny taps, all right? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to just tap our brush, and I'm rotating it, and I'll move it kind of in and out. Like that. And then we have a tree. That'll kind of give you those little branches and things like that. So it's just tapping, and then I'm rotating the brush so it's kind of going like this and moving in and out just a little bit away from that center area. This also tells me I think I need this to be darker. This, once it kind of spread out, is, I wish that this would let me focus. There we go, focused. It's a little bit lighter than I thought it was, so I'm gonna add in a little bit more. Okay. All right, I'm gonna mix in some more of that Payne's Gray. I want this to be super duper dark. For those of you who don't have a really, really dark black color in your paints, I'll demonstrate really quick. If you have a pen, any sort of a felt tip pen on dry paper will get you a similar effect. You can also do trees this way, which is you can take like a line. I always do this just so that I kind of know. The line does not need to be perfect. Again, I just kind of tap at the top a couple times to kind of show those little sparse little boughs that are tiny up there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scribble and make it bigger and wider as I go down. But when I scribble, well, the way that I like to do it, it kind of depends on the type of tree you're trying to emulate, but I'm more going for, I guess, kind of like an evergreen. So my scribbles are not super regular. They're not just like this. They're kind of like if you were writing cursive over and over and over each other, like this. There are some sharp points, there are some loops, there are some different areas. And then I'm going to kind of squiggle out and down. You can leave little gaps because nature is natural, and there, who knows, maybe there's a little squirrel that's sitting there or something. And you just squiggle wider and wider. So if you don't have really dark paint, you don't have to. You can also do something like this. A Sharpie works great. Paper I'm using is Stonehenge. It is 140 pound cold press paper. All right, I'm gonna do mine with the tapping motion though, because they come together a lot faster. So I'm gonna load up my brush with that dark color. What I wanna do is kind of take count of what's going on. Whenever we add another element, like something in the foreground, we can either hide or we can highlight what is happening in the painting. So for example, if you have an area, like I definitely wanna hide the fact that there is a little black dot here from where I accidentally splashed some paint there. But I love what's happening here, so I want to make sure that any of these trees I add are not going to interfere with it. I want it to complement, so I'm going to want to make sure my tree line kind of goes up and down with that so that it really kind of helps lead the eye to it. All right, so I've put this in my brush. I'm going to scrape off excess so I just have just enough to fill the brush, and then I'm going to start adding in these trees. So I'm going to make them make a little line. Again, I'm gonna kind of tap. Hi, Moogs. My dog Mookie is here. And then I'm just going to tap and rotate. And then I'm going to add in a couple more on each of these. I'm going to kind of vary the heights. And also how much spacing I have between these trees, just to give it a little kind of visual interest. So for this one, I kind of think I want to do like I want the moon to kind of be framed a little bit. So I'll come up here, space it a little bit further away, and then do another tall one. Tap at the top, and then tap and rotate, making it a little bit wider as I move down. I can always go in and kind of touch up certain areas, but it'll give you the nice kind of bones of these trees in just a few seconds, which is really kind of nice to not have to do all the work. I'll do another one that's a little close to this one. Tapping and rotating. I'm going to add in one more tree. Let's make another big one over here. Remember, nature is natural and there are all sorts of variations. So if your trees don't look exactly like mine, that is totally fine. As a matter of fact, I can't even make another tree that looks exactly like one of the ones I've made. They're all going to be a little different. Just like that. We will come back. I'm going to come back to this one and we're going to add in some extra special little details with some white gel pen and things like that. So, all right, this one we're going to do the trees again, but I'm going to be a little more intentional about where I place these. So on this one, I want it to be here. And I'm not going to hold this at an angle. I was trying to do that to show you guys, but I don't think I'm as good at making the trees when it's at an angle. Just like that. Do I want to add in a tree to the left here? I don't know. I know I want to add in a couple more over this way, so I'm going to do a thinner one here, or a smaller one. And I'm sorry if I'm missing a bunch of comments. I am like really focused on these trees. Hello, hello. All right, maybe this one's a little bit further away, a little bit taller. You can layer on as many as you want, the trees. You could get these really, really thick and like layer them on top of each other and on top of each other if you wanted to really give it some depth. But I think I'm just gonna leave it kind of simple because I think the effect still kind of stands as it is. I'm going to do a tall one here. Oh, this is going to be the one that's going to touch into that just a little bit. I kind of think I do need to put something over here a little bit just to kind of help balance it, but I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I'm also going to make that one a little more sparse, kind of intentionally. Maybe that tree is just kind of taller and more sparse than other ones. I'm doing tremendously. And then this one we're going to do closer and a little bit shorter. I personally like to vary the heights of them. I just think it adds a little bit of kind of a visual interest, but I've seen these done where people do them with the heights at similar heights, and they look great. So do whatever calls to you. I don't know, what do we think? Do I add any more, or do I leave this one to just let it go down? Because that's, I mean, the star of this painting is this part, right? So do we want to interfere or not? Like the side of it streaking in? Leave it? Oh no. Yeah, we can always come back and add it, that's true. Okay. All right, I'm going to add in my trees here. In general, you know, I can kind of go with whatever shapes I want to. I know I want to put one here because of, well, because of that, that little dot. So let's just start with that. All right, I got a lot of votes for leave it, so we're just going to leave it. I'm going to put this one in. Couple little taps. And then tap and rotate. This is the moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, Bob Ross was right. You just tap the tree out, you know? Like it just like happens. Like I didn't make the tree, the brush made the tree. Let's make this one kind of coming off the edge of this. Like it feels like cheating to paint a tree like this because it's just kind of like happens, you know? I still cannot figure out how he did those mountains where he would just be like, put the paint up and then scrape it down and be like, and now it's a mountainside. All right, let's go a bit taller here. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be giggling most of the day about how you guys were trying to tell me the screen was frozen earlier, and I was just convinced you were telling me it was frozen outside because I had, right before this, we sat outside for like 30 minutes in my grandparents' backyard, and I was freezing when we got back. So I was definitely my mind was made up on what was going on, and that was not at all what was going on. I'm glad it unfroze though. Happy little trees for sure. Just gonna keep adding these in. I think it's just so fun how we're basically painting the same thing over and over again, right? All we did was change some of the variables as far as what the colors are in the background, and look how different each of these ends up looking. You could add in, so somebody said, can you add snow? And like, to the way that I'm doing this, to add snow, we would have had to kind of like either mask off something or really prepare. We could try to take some white gel pen and try to add it on, but I think it would look a little bit out of place in the way that I've done this, at least in the way that my imagination can come up with how to do this. I don't know if it would really fit with it. But it could look really pretty if I had kind of planned for it all along. We are going to take some white gel pen and put in some stars in the top left one. And I'm going to put one more in on this one. I actually really like that. Like, I would like to be standing in like a meadow in the middle of the forest and seeing those colors in the sky. That would be so pretty. All right, we got one more to add trees to. How do I want to do this one? So So I really like this area. There are some of these kind of interesting things that have happened. Some people like these, some people don't. These are kind of like little blooms that have happened, but I really like them. They give this really interesting texture. So I want to make sure that shows off. And then this area is just kind of blah. So I think I might do like a couple trees kind of over here and then maybe have them kind of fade off and be a little bit shorter over there. Again, you kind of want to read what your paintings are giving you. Because your paintings, or even if you followed like pretty close along with the colors and the placement, they're going to have bled together in a little bit different way. And so it might call for you to make different decisions about the placement of your foreground elements than me. Who knows, maybe you are painting a cactus right now instead of these trees. Because you're like, that looks like a desert, because it totally does. But I'm just tapping away trees. Just tip tap tipping. Isn't that what is that? There's a TikTok sound that makes me think about that. I could just leave it like that. It could be really pretty. You know what? This would be a really pretty like on a greeting card, and then you could put the greeting here, like 2024. I'm not going to add any more to that one. I'm just going to let that be as it is. Okay, next I'm going to take some white gel pen, and we're going to add in some little stars. We're going to add in some trees. Also, side note, so I accidentally found my favorite gel pen ever. Before I'd been using this other one that I like, but it doesn't have the same. I saw a TikTok, somebody using these Uniball Signo pens, but they were using, actually I'm gonna grab right there. We're gonna do the gold and the silver. I bought them for the gold and the silver and it came with the white one and I was like, whoa, this is the best white gel pen. So I actually bought them for these, and then this is the star of the show. I wasn't intentionally trying to get it because usually I'm pretty disappointed by white gel pens. But this one knocked my socks off. Okay, so let's add in some little stars, and I'm also going to add in some details to the moon. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to make sure I'm not going to put my hand in any of that wet paint. I should probably just dry it, but I'm going to be stubborn and not. And we're going to start just by kind of outlining this. And then I'm actually just going to kind of scribble because the moon is textured, you know? So let's just scribble in here so that it kind of gets a decent amount of coverage, but not too much. And then, you know what I'm going to do? Smudge it. Tap it. There. Look. We got a moon. And it has some texture on it. Then I'm going to put in a couple of those little stars where it's like to do the little like diamond shape. And little swoops. It's not very good, but I mean, look at how much coverage that has. Like, you can really see that white gel pen if it will ever focus on it. It is just, wow. Maybe we have another one here. If I can get it to roll. Now I've been too, there we go. I'm just so impressed with this very unexpected discovery of this gel pen. And then I'm gonna just take some of that silver and some of the gold and just put some little dots. So I did my nails by using press-ons, and the pattern just came on them. So it was very easy to do. We're just putting a couple little stars in the sky with these gel pens. So I've got some white. I'm gonna use the gold and then also the silver. I'm gonna make some of them a little bigger. How fun. And look how cute that is. All right, I'm gonna take the tape off. Removing the tape, I mean, if I had all the borders, it would look even better. But removing the tape always just adds a little extra something. So let's go ahead and do that together. And let's get this one. I'm using washi tape. This one has very light adhesive. I actually had to stick it down a couple of times. But, so I didn't have to worry about it. If you are worried about tape ripping your paper, you can always heat it up a little bit. And that can help to release the adhesive. You don't want to heat it up too much, or you can transfer the adhesive onto the paper. And here's what we paint today. Here's what we painted today. I think I was reading a comment. Oh, the press-on brand. I think it's called Glamnetics. Is that what it's called? It's something with like glamour in the name. Glamourmade, that's what it is. This was so much fun to paint today. I'm so glad that we were able to get together on Christmas. Merry, Merry Christmas to everybody. I hope that everybody is having a good day, or maybe you're not having a good day, and maybe this was at least a mildly bright spot in your day. Either way, it was nice to spend some time with you guys. I am going to go let Moogie open her last present because it's really cute when she opens them. However, she does not like to be recorded while she's doing it. I tried to record her earlier. I'm so glad that we got to spend some time together, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And coming soon, I will be kind of back to more regular every other week type lives because the book is nearly done. So thank you guys so much for your patience. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and I will see you guys soon.